card. So when looking at this card, right, and this is interesting because historically this card is linked to the centaur or the Chiron, which is half man, half horse, right? It's the teacher of Apollo. It's the sun god and the healer. So this is related to the sign of Sagittarius, and I said that's why this is interesting because I also have a deck of cards that depicts this card as a representative of Taurus. Now, in my opinion, from my studies and my experiences, I would more associate this card with the Sagittarius. However, that's me. Make it fit how you fit when you pull this card, though, when you see this card. If you feel it's more in the Taurian energy, use it the way that you best see fit in that way. Me personally, again, I just feel and sense that it's more linked to the Sagittarius, which is the guider. When this card is drawn, it's supposed to guide the individual to seek spiritual growth and to find a spiritual path. And it can go beyond organized religion. So again, this relates strongly to Sagittarius characteristics, to where it's like when you go on your own journey to find what's the truth for you, there are times where you have to abandon what you previously believed or who you previously followed. And that's what I get from this. So the Hierophant's job, if you will, is to not be stagnated and stuck on one rigid dogma, but to go outside of that, to tap into the subconscious in the world of the psyche in order to learn how to make conscious decisions here on earth. So notice the duality between the pillars that's depicted in this card, right? We've seen this theme a few times in the tarot deck, which represents the duality, the spiritual plane and the earthly plane. So this card, when it's drawn, it's the initiate, this person, or could be another person, but when you're dealing with this card, I'd say it more leans towards the person that the reading is being done on. It could differ. Cards that are drawn after and previous will give you more insight into that. But for the most part, this is an initiate that has been appointed to guide people to find a spiritual path so that they can make conscious decisions on the earthly plane. So like the Emperor is similar to this depiction. The Emperor is the ruler of this world, right? The Hierophant is the ruler on a spiritual sense of this world. So that's where they are similar, but that's also where they differ. So this is the religious authority when you see this. And again, it could be a way of life. It could even be education. It could be not just mandated to religion. All right. So again, the two pillars, this is how you bridge the spiritual connection to the earthly connection so that you can make those types of decisions. So the Hierophant is the person that makes these decisions for the followers, the assistants, as you see, there's two people that are in front of this Hierophant. They're looking for guidance. That's what they're there for. So they could be the Hierophant's assistants. It could be their students. It could be members of the circle in some type of way, but they still look to this Hierophant for authority. Now, there is a scepter inside of the left hand of the Hierophant, which represents the earthly plane, or should I say the physical plane, and the astral plane and the etheric plane. And the right hand of this Hierophant is put up in a position to where it is preparing to bless the people that they are guiding. So, like when you go to a religious institution and they call you down to the altar to do maybe a prayer, and then they say they're gonna, anoint you. So what the religious leader will do is they'll dab those two fingers on a bottle of oil, tip it over, and then hold up their hand and then, bless you in the forehead with the oil. You know what I mean? So that's that positioning right there. And we see the yellow in the crown. It seems like it's a W under that 5 too. I'm not 100% sure, but if it is, I would say it represents wisdom. when we're going to look at the crown, we're going to focus on the crown and the yellow, the gold of the crown, and the scepter as well, which represents optimism, confidence, happiness, and a bright future. So we have the white trimmings underneath the cloak, and trimmings of the trimmings of the cloak are white, represents wholeness, purity, protection, right? And the cloak is red, which represents vitality, passion, and courage, right? So this card is a courageous card too. So also the carpet is red too, that represents that too. The feet are white as well with the crosses on them. I would say they're more in a frame of an X too. Like I look at these feet as X's too, which can represent unknown or the unknown. So it's like when this card is seen, you can like tap into the unknown in order to find that spiritual path. Because when you are getting guidance, when you're getting spiritual guidance to go on a path in your life, there are times where you must abandon the people that you previously followed, or abandon the belief that you previously followed as well. So that's what you can determine, especially if you see this card drawn in reverse. This means that you're being put to the test to see if you're going to like overthrow an old tradition, like, and be a spiritual rogue is what I say when you see this card in reverse. So you can go against the previous tradition and the old way of doing things and start anew, and maybe even start your own cult, your own religion, your own way of life. You know what I mean? Because what you've previously been doing may have been suffocating you. It may have been stagnating you from your personal growth, especially your spiritual growth. So this can happen, and that's why the 5 is associated on top of this card as well, because the 5 is going to represent an adventure, a journey of some type, even a roller coaster, and taking action. And this can cause conflict as well, because you can imagine that if and when you abandon your previous way of life and you abandon a gregarious faction, if you will, institution, that you're going to have people that are going to be against you, and it's going to be many of them, depending on how large the institution is, right? And how many others from other parts of the world. You know, sometimes these institutions expand heavily, so you would have to experience some type of conflict because of the decision that you choose to make. But this can also be considered when you're drawing the card upward as well. It might be a test to you to see if you will mandate yourself to what man has told you and showed you, and there's no other way to it, or go on your own and journey and develop some wisdom of your own based on the guidance that this Hierophant gives you. Now at the feet, there are 2 keys there crossed over each other. These 2 keys represent intellect and intuition. So it is said that these keys are needed in order to gain access to the secret mysteries of life, especially those that are spiritual. So that's why they are before the feet and in front of the students, so that it represents them coming to access these keys to gain knowledge and wisdom of the spiritual mysteries that pertain to life. So again, it's bridging the gap. It's extracting from the spiritual world and bringing into the conscious world. And it's more importantly to be authoritative in the conscious world, or the 3D plane. And that's what the Hierophant rules over.